Hello and welcome to another episode of Lasting Legacies. I'm Stephen Gunn, my co-host Evan Herrman.
Hi.
Now Evan, we have a big treat today. You want to tell about who we have
Oh my
today?
gosh, such a treat. We have the mayor of Tulsa, G.T. Bynum himself. He's the man with a contagious smile
He is.
and amazing vision for our city. You're not going to want to miss this episode of Lasting Legacies. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to Lasting Legacies. I'm Stephen Gunn, my co-host Evan Herrman.
Hi.
And we have a very special guest with us today, the mayor of Tulsa, G.T. Bynum. Mayor, so happy to have you with us today.
Great to be with you guys.
Looking forward to it. Well, today let's go ahead and jump in. Now, I've obviously been in Tulsa my whole life, and I've started hearing your name around the city council time frame.
Yeah.
And obviously after that became mayor. But for those who maybe haven't heard of you, give us a little kind of a history of how you became on this journey.
Oh, sure, yeah. My family has been here in Tulsa since the 1880s. My great-great-grandfather came here when Tulsa had like 200 people here, and started working at a trading post and saved up enough to buy the trading post, ended up being the mayor of Tulsa in 1899 and started our school system. But I grew up here in Tulsa, and after I graduated from college, went to work for one of our senators from Oklahoma at the time, Don Nichols,
Yes.
and worked for him for his last 5 years in the Senate, and then worked for Senator Tom Coburn for his first year in.
Yeah.
Learned a ton from both of them, but in the middle of all that, my cousin, Bill LaFortune, ran for mayor of Tulsa. And I had grown up, in case you're going to pick up on a theme here, my grandfather had also been the mayor. I'm the fourth member of my family to be mayor of Tulsa. My granddad had been the mayor back in the 70s. He retired when I was 6 months old, and the whole time I was growing up, people would approach us in restaurants and stuff to talk to my granddad and then tell his little grandson about what a great mayor he was. So even before I had any idea what a mayor did,
Yeah.
I knew that a lot of people valued that job.
Wow.
Then I was working on things in the U.S. Senate that, like Senator Nichols, he's one of the best legislators there was when he was in there. But he was working on things that he'd run on 20 years earlier because the Founding Fathers set our federal system up to work so gradually.
Yeah.
Whereas I helped my cousin Bill on his campaign for mayor, and I'll always remember being with him when he said, you know, we're going to figure out how to catch up with this arena that they just opened in Oklahoma City. On my 100th day as mayor, we're going to have a vision summit and figure out how we can catch up with that. And my wife and I moved home from DC 3 years later, and the BOK Center is under construction. So that's when I realized at the local level, the tangible nature of the work that you're doing in public service and the velocity of change is just so much greater. And that's what really drew me to run for city council in 2008, and then for mayor 8.5 years after that.
So, kind of off camera when we were talking, you said you wanted to be mayor since you were 7 years of age. Is that correct?
Yeah, 7 or 8, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's really neat that you've had that dream for so long.
Yeah.
What was that process like, going from a young boy with a dream and then it actually becoming real? It's almost surreal, I bet, for you in some
Oh, it was
way.
absolutely surreal, because my granddad has been my hero my whole life. I was very close with he and my grandmother growing up. They were like a second set of parents for me. And so always, one, hearing from folks who would come up to talk to us about how important the job was, but then also knowing how much he loved that job. Even, 40 years removed from having it, he still looked back on those days as some of the best of his life because of the opportunity to serve so many of his friends and his family and the people he loved in his hometown. And so one, getting to be on the council was surreal just in and of itself, because that was a transition from working for senators who I had just tremendous respect for, but ultimately what I worked on and the final decisions that were made were their decision to make, not mine, to them being able to work on whatever I wanted. But then to get to, wanting to be elected in a mayor's race where I was the underdog the whole time until the moment I won, but then to get sworn in, like I couldn't look at my granddad. When I got sworn in, I knew if I look at him while I'm speaking, I'll lose it in front of all these people. So I did a great job of looking over him at everyone else in the room. But yeah, and now to be in this job, I always think about, how would he conduct himself in the job? Because the the technical nature of things has changed a lot in 40 years, but when it comes down to it, the way you treat people, how you make decisions, how you involve the community in decisions that you make, and the priorities that you place, and namely putting service ahead of politics, those are timeless.
Yeah.
And all of those, he was on the right side. And so I always try to think about what he would do, even though I'm so fortunate. He just turned 92 in January, still busy as can be. And that's one of the great blessings of my life, is that I get to do this job and still be able to talk with him and get his advice.
That's incredible. Well, I think there's very few, other than maybe family-owned businesses, that would have that same legacy aspect for you to hear from your grandfather and like the family lineage there.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to take a break real quick and talk a little more about the kind of legacy aspect for you. So don't go anywhere. Come right back.
This program is made possible by the generous support of the Demand Project, a nonprofit organization fighting to eradicate sex trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children. To find out how you can help, please visit thedemandproject.org today.
Could your business or organization benefit from TV advertising? KGEB Tulsa TV 53 broadcasts from the campus of Oral Roberts University and reaches the greater Tulsa metro 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Contact us for more info at 918-488-5300.
Welcome back to the show, Lasting Legacies. We have none other than the mayor of Tulsa, the man himself, G.T. Bynum. How are you?
Great.
Well, this show is about leaving a legacy. And so I have kind of like a two-part question for you. One, Tulsa has had a long history, a long legacy. And when you're gone, you're going to have your part of the legacy within Tulsa as well. So, one, where do you want to see Tulsa's legacy after you leave office? And then also the follow-up question to that is, where do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I mean, because my family's been here since the 1880s, I think about everything in our history and really, or everything in our city in historical terms. And so I feel like the time that I'm mayor is kind of my opportunity in that sequence, long sequence of events to be able to influence the trajectory of the city. And for me, one of the big reasons I ran for mayor was I looked at the things that I loved about Tulsa, and so many of them came back to the mindset that our city had in the early 20th century, when you had people who, yeah, they came here to do well in the energy industry, but they didn't come here, do well, and then go back from whence they came.
Right.
They said, you know, we don't want to be, you know, the oil capital of Tulsa County. We want to be the oil capital of the world, and did that. They didn't say we want to be the most beautiful city in green country. They said we want to be America's most beautiful city, and did that. They didn't like the taste of the water in the Arkansas River, so they built this marvel of civil engineering to get clean water out of Lake Spavinaw that was such a big deal that the President of the United States came here to open it. When most people in America had never seen an airplane, we built one of the first airports here. All of that, the common thread in that was a notion of very high expectations for our community. And so when I ran, I was bothered because a lot of the dialogue I heard at City Hall was, oh, Broken Arrow got a Bass Pro Shop. Oh, Jinx got an outlet mall. And I thought, nobody's going to be reading about this in history books one day. Like, where's our inspiration? You know, where's our high ambition that then leads to greater things? And so that's what I ran on, was renewing a sense of high expectations. And I thought that would take 5 or 6 years. It's there. I mean, we're there now. I mean, we're getting written up in national publications. We're getting national media interest about the things that are happening in Tulsa right now. And the thing I love about that is, I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. For their generation now, their level of expectation is, of course the best park gift to any city in America is in Tulsa. That's right. Of course we have the best concert arena in America.
That's right.
Of course we're outpacing the state and the nation in job growth, and we just got the 2 largest new employers in the history of the city. That's just the way it is in Tulsa.
That's right.
And when they have that mindset, then there's no limit to what this generation coming up is going to be able to accomplish. So. I think from an overall legacy standpoint for our city, that's the best legacy that we can leave the next generation, is a sense of higher expectations for themselves and for our community.
Awesome. Good. So now take that personally.
Yeah.
You know, if I can play a part and there are so many people that are playing a part. But as mayor, if I can use this office in the time that I have it, both to raise those sense of expectations and to make Tulsa a city where every kid in our community has an equal shot at a great life, regardless of the part of town they grow up in, then that's a successful time as mayor.
And I think I heard you say earlier as well, is and what you just mentioned, so your kids, right?
Yes.
Like that's, for you, that probably
That's
is
the
a
motive.
crucial passion for you.
Absolutely.
And then the next generation, they see that and go, it's just, the lid just is blown off
Correct.
of their limitations.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so they get to see, here's where we can go with this, here's what we can do. I can dream big, I can go and see what I can do for my community, whether it's in the marketplace, political, church realms, whatever. They
Yeah.
can be influenced like that way.
Absolutely.
What are some of the biggest projects that we're accomplishing currently as a city right now?
Well, I mean, the things I just mentioned, I would say are the biggest points of pride. The fact that in the last year, we've brought the 2 largest new employers to ever come to our city in the whole history of Tulsa. That's great news.
Yeah.
We have over $300 million in new projects occurring in North Tulsa right now. We have over $300 million in new projects in downtown Tulsa occurring right now. We just opened the greatest public park gift in the history
Love
of
that place.
America. And we're getting ready to build a lake in the Arkansas River right next to it. We're going to bring USA BMX's Olympic Training and Trials facility to Tulsa.
Yeah.
And so we'll have Olympic athletes training Tulsa kids in BMX bike racing, that kind of stuff. So there's so many positive things occurring right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great time for Tulsa.
Wow. Well, that's actually a good way to pause and take another quick break real fast, and we'll be right back. So do not go anywhere. We'll come right back with Mayor GT Bynum.
Hi, my name is Matt Moore, President of the Young Businessmen of Tulsa. I pray that this program is a blessing to you and that it inspires you to grow in both your business and personal life. Did you know that many people, both young and old, hold a mentality that their success is all about them, when in reality, we know that our success is dependent on how well we can serve and meet the needs of others. Owning a business is a huge responsibility, and success is very important for not only you, but also your employees and your community. If our community is going to continue to thrive, we need to be proactive in promoting a business community that's focused on being excellent stewards in all areas of life, so we can create lasting legacies. Today, we have a fantastic opportunity in front of us that could really take our city and community to the next level. Each program we air has the potential to reach over 1 million households. But in order to do this, we need to reach an extra $1,600 in monthly reoccurring giving. YBT is looking for 2 types of partners, those who can pledge $9 a month and those who can pledge $19 a month. Not only will we continue to share our Christ-centered message, but in order to keep with the spirit of YBT, a portion of each monthly pledge that you give will benefit our monthly Pay It Forward projects in order to help give back to our city. If you decide to pledge $19 a month, we will have your name scroll at the bottom of the screen on each program as a proud supporter. Every pledge is a tax-deductible donation. Will you help me make a bigger difference in our city? YBT has a track record of creating better leaders, and we have raised well over $145,000 for community projects since our conception. Join us as a co-producer as we take this message and program across the airwaves. Help us steward a message that will literally change people's lives forever. To make your pledge, please visit www.patreon.com/YBT.
And we're back with Lasting Legacies. Our guest today is Mayor GT Bynum. Mayor, we've been talking about legacy and kind of family. Now, along the way in the journey, you've, I'm sure, had some experiences yourself, and maybe ones you've seen, where failures led to success. So talk a little bit about falling forward or failing forward in leadership that you've seen.
You know, probably the best example of that would come to mind for me, you know, I mentioned my kids. I have a 12-year-old son and a 9-year-old daughter. And when my daughter was born, I used up every day of vacation I had, all 2 weeks I had for the whole year banked up to be there with my wife. And then I went back to work, and then the next day I got laid off.
Oh, man.
Along with a third of our company. And I'll never forget, you know, having to go home, and my wife had quit her job to have our kids. And so it's like, I've just lost our sole source of income for our entire family. And so going home, walked in, and my wife was laying in bed with our baby daughter, and I said, I was like, I'm so sorry, I totally let you down. And she was like, that's okay. You always wanted to start your own company, so go do that. And I was like, okay. And turned around and walked back out, and found there was this guy in the 320 South Boston building in downtown had taken an old office and divided it up into sub-offices, and I rented the cheapest one they had. It's like basically a closet with a chair and a credenza for a desk, and I started my own business. And I had recognized that there were a lot of folks, especially like manufacturers in this part of the state, who built things that they could sell to the federal government in particular, but had no idea how to do it. And so started my business based on that and built it up, ended up taking on a business partner over the course of that time, and it was thriving, and that's what, paid for everything for our family for 8 years until I got elected mayor, and then I had to leave it. But that, for me, it didn't seem at the time, it seemed like an awful failure on my part to be letting my family down in that way. But in retrospect, the experience of going through that, it made me realize that you can take risks, and if you fail, your family still loves you. Your friends are still there. And that's one of the reasons I wasn't sweating bullets when I decided to run as an underdog candidate for mayor, because I realized even if I lose, family's still going to love me, and my friends are still going to be my buddies, and so the world does not end if I lose. But also starting your own business, there's just something about that, and that was something that 4 generations of my family before me had done that here in Tulsa, and I had always kind of felt like, I guess I'll be the first generation that doesn't. And then, so to be the 5th generation of our family to start and operate a small business here in Tulsa, was incredibly rewarding. And it's a whole different world when you go from working in the corporate space to all of a sudden you have your first IT problem and you realize you're the IT guy. And you're the accountant and the marketing expert and the salesperson. I'm going to need to get a different computer, look this up on YouTube, how I fix this.
YouTube is great for many entrepreneurs.
It is.
That's right.
But that, I think, gave me a sense of confidence that I wouldn't have had otherwise, and realize, a tolerance for perceive what others might perceive as risk, but realizing that there's a lot of things you can do, that the world doesn't end if it doesn't work out the way you'd hoped.
Well, that's a great place to take our break. We'll be right back with Mayor G.T. Bynum.
Do you want to look your best? Every suit I wear in this program is brought to you by Suit Connection, a men's formal wear store providing the best and most affordable suits in town. Search for them on Facebook by typing Suit Connection Tulsa, or stop by at 61st and Sheridan in Tulsa.
Do you suffer with migraines, seizures, neuropathy, dementia, or movement disorders? Discover an independent concierge neurology practice with treatment from a Christian perspective by Dr. George Gonzalez.
Welcome back to Lasting Legacies. We have the man with the most contagious smile as a mayor, Mayor G.T. Bynum. How are you?
Great.
Mayor, in regards to the idea of servant leadership, you said something earlier in the segment that I want to refer back to. You said you put service over politics. And I think as a Tulsan myself, that's something I so value in you, in your administration. Not just because you said it, but I was trying to come up with the words before you even said it, how to explain it. And when you said it, that was exactly it. So here's my question to you. In a society that really plays to the political agendas and parties, you've kind of just said, no, I'm going to put service first. And I'm going to put, regardless of your political agenda, I'm going to put my community first. Share a little bit about how that impacts the marketplace and the leadership roles in the city when someone puts service first.
Well, I mean, I picked this up from a lot of the mentors I was lucky enough to have along the way. And for me, really, we all have different values that inspire us, but for me, one of the big ones is selflessness. And so with my grandfather, I always heard growing up from people, well, he listened to all sides, and we knew, even if we disagreed with him, we knew that he was making a decision in the best interests of the city, not to climb the political ladder. When I worked for Senator Coburn, I used to hear the exact same thing from people. I may disagree with him, but I know that he's making his decision based on what he thinks is best for the country, not trying to get elected to anything. Right. And so when I got into office as a city councilor, early on realized there are a lot of issues that come up, and people come up to you routinely and play to what they think you fear the most, and so always say, if you vote that way, I will make sure that I work against you in the next election. And for me, I had this value of the context of history. The thing my grandfather was in city government in Tulsa for 14 years, between being street commissioner and mayor. The thing I'm most proud of him during that time was his very first night that he was on the street commission. In a split vote, he was the only Republican that voted to desegregate public facilities in Tulsa. Right. So he followed his conscience, even though there was political pressure to do otherwise. And so I've always thought, for me, the test is if my kids read 30 years from now about a decision I made, will they be proud of that decision or ashamed of it? Mm-hmm. And so long as they're proud of the work that I did, I don't care if I get reelected. I don't care if I make somebody mad and they work against me in the next election. It's more important to me to have a legacy, if you will, that my kids can be proud of. Yeah. And that also informs the approach that I've taken from an executive standpoint as mayor. I'm very mindful that I don't go out and respond to calls for service to the police department or medical emergencies that our firefighters respond to. I'm not out fixing a broken water line in an ice storm like our streets and our stormwater crews are, and the folks in our water department. And so it's important to me that as the people who are directly delivering the service to the citizens of Tulsa, those folks on our team at the city know that I'm there to serve them. And I'm there to give them the resources they need to do their job to the best of their ability.
Wow, that was so good. We like to ask all of our guests how we personally, YBT ourselves, can add value to you, in this case also maybe the city of Tulsa. So what would you say to that?
I think the best thing that could be done is we have all these city authorities and boards and commissions. The mayor and the city council, we manage the city and set budgets and ordinances and all that stuff. But if you're talking about our park system, our airport, our water system, our economic development approach, even our trash system. So many different things that we have here in the city of Tulsa are actually, those policies are determined by citizen authorities and boards. And so to have YBT members with their expertise willing to help give back to our community through service on those boards would be fantastic. Anybody that's interested in that can just shoot me an email. It's just mayor@cityoftulsa.org.
Great.
Or they can go on the city website and see a listing of all the different authorities and boards and consider different ways they might be willing to lend their expertise to help make the city a better place.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Well, I just want to say personally, on my behalf, and as well as Evan's, thank you for your time.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you for leading with the servant attitude, and just love the legacy of what we can do in the city of Tulsa.
This program is made possible by the generous support of OklahomaBanner.com. Oklahoma Banner is a locally owned company providing custom designed full-color banners shipped directly to you. They offer a wide variety of banner products. Visit OklahomaBanner.com today.
It's been said that life is about capturing moments, so I encourage you to capture this moment right here and take a picture of my contact information to reach out to me later. It is most important when you find a real estate agent to find one with the ability to communicate with all involved, knowledgeable about the real estate market, and one's ability to negotiate contracts. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home within the next year, reach out to me. I'd love to see how I can help you reach your goals. Thank you so much.
And we're back. Stephen Gunn, co-host Evan Herrman here. We just had an amazing time talking with the mayor, G.T. Bynum. We wanted to have just a little bit, kind of take a moment and help internalize that a little bit, help you maybe apply that for you who are sitting out there watching, a homeowner, business owner, organization, you're involved with leadership, and you want to make
Basically, if you're alive, this will help you.
That's right. So one of the things that we wanted to key in on was, I don't know if you picked up on it, was his application of servant leadership, which we talked about as being.
Yeah, so he said he put service over politics.
Right.
And not just politically how we can apply that in our own life, but there's political systems in almost every environment. At work, there's a hierarchy of a political system. In schools, whatever industry that someone is in, there's always the game of politics and red tape. And sometimes red tape gets in the way of service.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I so appreciate about our mayor, is that for him, it's not about getting reelected, it's about how he can provide the best service to the community. And so my question to you and to all of us is, what does that look like for us individually to put service in front of politics or in front of red tape? Sure.
One of the things I think that I picked up on what he said was prioritization, right? So who's important influence, who's the decision you make, what's the repercussions or what's the causes and effect of that. So in his case, it's family, right? So his kids, what are they going to be able to grow up in? How are they going to be able to grow and learn? And what are they going to see as being the highest expectations they can have? And for him, it was, what else can I do to help open up their opportunities in the future? Which I know for me, we're both parents and dads, and so having that for our kids, we want them to have the best. But obviously for an organization, they're looking at ways that they can influence what we call culture. It's a key thing for us, right? So how do you make decisions that are going to bring health and vitality for the future?
Well, that's a great question. I think the way that an individual would bring health and vitality through culture and to the future is by looking at what you want created.
Exactly.
And then work backwards from there. If you start with the end result and then prioritize what you need to do to get there, then I think you'll be able to do that.
I think so too. Go to ybtok.com for more information and check out all of our episodes we have, and find out how you can be a part of our monthly luncheons. And
it's great food. You're not going to want to miss it.
That's right. Come back. Tune in next time. ybtok.com.